A very good day to all of you joining us from around the world, and welcome to this exciting webinar. My name is Bertolt Kolecko. I serve currently as the president of the European Academy of Pediatrics, and it is a great honor and pleasure to welcome you to this very special World Children's Day webinar entitled Every Child and Adolescent's Right to Safety. As you will know well, the World Children's Day is UNICEF's Global Day of Action for Children and Child Rights. So we feel it's very appropriate to dedicate today's webinar to the child right to safety and to hold this webinar of the European Academy of Pediatrics in collaboration with UNICEF. Today, we bring together voices from Frontline Pediatrics, community leadership, humanitarian work, and parent advocacy. What unites us is a shared belief that every child deserves protection, dignity, and hope, even in the most difficult circumstances. I wish to thank sincerely UNICEF and our many collaborating partners for joining us in this effort. It is a great pleasure to begin this webinar by inviting Dr. Eduardo Celades Blanco from UNICEF to offer an opening session. Eduardo, please.
Thank you very much, Bertolt. I hope you can hear me well. Colleagues,
Yes,
partners,
well.
and excellent. So colleagues, partners, and friends. So thank you very much for celebrating this World Children's Day, where we are invited not only to celebrate childhood, but as well to reflect seriously on our collective responsibility to protect it. Across Europe and around the world, children today are growing up in a complex and very fragile environment. Conflict, forced displacement, natural disasters, climate shocks, and widening inequalities are shaping the lives of children in ways that no child should experience. At this moment, more than 400 children live in fragile or humanitarian settings, from Ukraine to Gaza, Sudan to Haiti, and as well in the Latin America and other regions. Children are bearing the invisible and visible scars of crisis. So we think that today is the day to recommit to the fundamentals, right? The right of every child to survive, the access to health services, the protection from violence, and a safe and a healthy environment. And as well, I think the association, this meeting and this session will be a great opportunity to discuss on this solidarity and to have a call to action. So thank you very much for inviting us, and I am looking forward to the discussions.
I believe the next speaker is Marina Mamenko, and you can go ahead and start. We welcome her from Ukraine.
Lorraine?
Yes, Marina, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
Dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure and honor for me to be the first speaker in this webinar. And I'm going to speak about the situation with children in Ukraine. And really, it's too less time to say everything I want to share with you. So I will make a little bit economy representing myself, as you can find it in program of our webinar and see on our screen. No conflict of interests to declare, just to speak about children. The first issue of my talk is to ask anyone how many children are now in Ukraine. Nobody knows. We have stats that before the full-scale invasion, we had about 7.5 million of children. It's official data just up to the beginning of the war. We know also, it's data of UNICEF, that at least 4.8 million crossed borders or left their homes, just to state, at the western part, central part of Ukraine, which was more peaceful and far from frontline. And just up to the 1st of September of 2025, we know that 2.1 million of school-age children are abroad. It means that half of them, every second child nowadays, live abroad. And some of them study in schools in Europe and other countries, and some of them continue distance education with their schools in Ukraine. Figures are really big, and it emphasizes the problems not only for families and children, for quality of their education, and also it's just for understanding the situation with teaching and pediatrics in Ukraine. You understand well, if the half of your patients of children go abroad, we have the lack of patients and the lack of work for our doctors. The situation differs in different parts of Ukraine depending on the war situation. Typically speaking about Ukrainian children, I share this screen. It's governmental data. And this time I prepared 2 screenshots from this website for you, just with distance of 6 days. The war in Ukraine is just a chronic condition with some acute attack. And you see official data about dead children, wounded, missing just a week ago. And nowadays you can see +5 children killed per week and 27 wounded. Probably it's not the final data of yesterday's attack to the Chernobyl city. One big building was destroyed with enormous number of wounded and killed civilians, and children are among them. The last sentence on the screen says that it's impossible to establish the exact number of injured children due to active hostilities and the temporary occupation of part of Ukrainian territory. Just yesterday, I communicated with pediatrician from Mariupol. I think everyone remember the situation at the first months of the war. This doctor said to me that she was in Mariupol in March of 2022. Her own photos were destroyed, is from the official sources, as while passing the border to come to Ukraine, she had to destroy everything. But while asking her about the main problems with children, she said to me that the worst thing was standing in shelters without meals, without food, without water, and without drugs and access to doctors. The poor condition, you can see it on this photo, made a lot of children ill during this period. So some of them died from from heart infections. Sorry, I am excited now, really thinking about this period of our life, and we have estimated figures, stats. It's not stats, it's not officially, but by the information of those people who came to the territory of Ukraine and by the data of civilians, the total number of killed, of victims of this period in Mariupol is from 80 to 100,000, and potentially every third is child. Also, it's impossible not to say about health system in Ukraine. In many cities, towns, and small villages, facilities are totally destroyed, speaking about the regions which are close to battlefield. Some of them partly damaged, some completely destroyed, but even in those cities, big cities, which seemed to be peaceful, we have also destroyed children's hospital. The previous slide was with photos of the first one in Kherson, just in first year of the full-scale invasion. Now you can see Okhmedit. It's the largest pediatric hospital in Ukraine. This hospital provided medical care for wounded children from all regions, all occupied territories, but one day she also was injured by the rocket. The conditions of shelters and hospitals and schools in our country was not up to the level, speaking about the beginning of the full-scale invasion. You can see the conditions of the first day of attacks in just central hospital, Children's Hospital Ahmedit. And you can imagine how to treat severe illnesses in this condition. And why up to now it's impossible to organize the work during alarms in the conditions of shelters. In 2024, the hospital was hit by a rocket, and yet it continues to operate deliver life-saving treatment to children from all across Ukraine. You can see two photos before and after. It changed just in one day. Just now we are trying to make a full reconstruction of hospitals, but some damages were so severe that it's impossible. This one is a pediatric primary care polyclinic in Odessa. It was injured this year at the beginning of the spring. You can see at the end of winter, it was in February, but you can see it's before and after this. I'm sharing this information just to say you that it's impossible to make good pediatrics in such conditions. And sometimes we need help of different missions and humanitarian foundations. One of them is City of Goodness. It's a shelter and palliative care central at the western part in Chernivtsi. After the beginning of the war, they took to the shelter a lot of orphanages, wounded children from different parts, and made their own palliative center just to take care about children which were evacuated from the frontline regions. Everything they're doing is without any support from government, only fundraising. This is FRIDA mission, which goes just to frontline territories, as you understand, if you have a few of children in a small village or small town, which is quite near to the front line. Normally, they have no doctors just here. Only families decide to stay in this condition, but they need care. And special programs, for example, its mission of Israeli and Ukrainian doctors. Some programs are oriented to pediatrics in frontline regions, and they make a very, very important job just to see every child and to understand who needs help. To make money for these organizations, we make wide fundraising, different programs, and just this year we made a very successful program with the European Academy of Pediatrics and Munich Rotary Club. Heating tables for preterm babies will start just now to frontline hospitals to care for these children, and we are very grateful for this program. As I have a few of time and no possibility to continue, I want just to show you this girl. It's Boston Marathon. It's just after 1 year plus after the end of the war. And this girl has amputation of 2 legs. We have experience nowadays of treating in pediatric hospitals, not pediatric illnesses. And really, while saying about work without light, electricity, without internet, in very difficult condition, we can say that we can adjust. We have grown resilient, but we still really rely on your solidarity and support.
Thank you so much, Marina, for this deeply insightful and moving contribution. It's greatly appreciated indeed. Dear colleagues, we have planned time at the end of the webinar for discussion, and as you've seen in the Q&A box, we encourage you to submit your questions and comments there in the Q&A box, and then we can come back to them at the end of the webinar. I also must apologize because I had some difficulties with the microphone after Eduardo's message, so I couldn't properly introduce you, Marina. I apologize for that. And I couldn't thank you, Eduardo, which I would like to do for your powerful opening message, and importantly for UNICEF's leadership on child rights and child safety around the world. So let's continue in our program. Our next speaker is Oleksandra Balyasna. She is the co-founder and the head of the Ukrainian Early Birds Premature Babies Parent Association. She's a very strong parent advocate and coordinator with Soft Tulip in the Netherlands. She has truly transformed her family's experience of preterm birth into a national movement for family-centered neonatal care in Ukraine. Oleksandra, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Bertolt. Thank you so much, dear colleagues and everyone who is watching us now. I'm really happy to and honored to speak on such an important day today. And let me try to open my presentation. So I hope you can see it now. I hope it's working and it's full screen, right?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
Great. So it's a great pleasure and an honor to talk on the World Children's Day today on behalf of the parent organization that I represent of preemie parents in Ukraine during the war. And I would like to start first of all saying that I'm not a medical expert, so I'm only talking about parent experience that I have, and I'm a preemie mom myself, and most of our preemie community is mothers who experience premature birth themselves. So my daughter was born 12 years ago with a weight of 1,270 grams, Sorry. And then for me, that was a very stressful experience. And for me, it's really hard to even imagine what our parents all around Ukraine have to go through, taking into consideration continuous shelling, stress, and also all other burdens, which I'm going to talk further on. But first of all, let me briefly indicate some of the numbers of the statistics of the topic that we are talking about. So this is, first of all, the prematurity is the leading cause of child mortality worldwide, according to WHO, and still this remains the leading cause for already many years, unfortunately. In general, in the world, there are more than 13.5 Due to the full-scale invasion, the number of preterm births has increased, but the birth rate has dropped down and for more than 35% in the last 4 years, which is causing a lot of disruption to the system as well, which were indicated previously. And let me point out some of the challenges, especially for the parents. So first of all is the safety. First of all is the safety for all the people, but of course for parents of premature babies, it does have some specifics. For example, during alarms, mothers have to go to the shelters, but the babies on life support equipment, they cannot be moved because they are sometimes the medical institution is not built in such a way that incubators can be moved out in a shelter. So mothers and staff needs to stay in units during the attack and risking their lives. Secondly, is the disruption of the care pathways. So reduced access to the rehabilitation and follow-up services, and families must choose sometimes between traveling under the threat or delaying development and assessment or checkups during the pregnancy. This also reflects quite well on the healthcare outcomes. Thirdly, it's the family separation. So partner-assisted birth is rare, and many fathers serve on the front line, of course. In this case, communication must be more empathetic and trauma-sensitive. So we cannot talk to every family like we did before. Just come with your partner during the delivery and we will prepare you. We just need to be really careful when we talk with every family because we never know what is the situation behind. And the psychological impact is huge. Mothers face trauma, displacement, loss of partners, and financial stress combined with already demanding experience of preterm birth. And the financial burden, I'm going to talk about that in the next slides. But let me read a couple of the reviews our parents are sharing with us during the preterm birth with our organization. So preterm birth is unexpected, but a preterm birth during a war is especially terrifying. When everyone was in the shelter, I was sitting near my intensive care unit because my daughter couldn't be disconnected from the machines for even a second. Once there was even a rocket attack in our area during an air raid siren. A baby on a ventilator cannot be taken to a shelter. Or another mother wrote to us, "We are from Kharkiv. That most frightening is that a rocket will hit and the life will end in an instant." So for me, being a mother of a premature baby, it's really hard to imagine all the situation, but every situation is very different and specific. And we have investigated together, it was the investigation questionnaire of our partners that we also participated and shared among our parent community that shows data of 215 mothers who had children born preterm. And the data is quite scary. So the majority of respondents reported intense fatigue, 94%, and sleep disturbances, it's 79%, and persistent anxiety and fear, about 85%. So, and more data that shows that it highlights the urgent need of integrated mental health and support approaches into neonatal and perinatal services in wartime and post-war time. Another survey of our partners that we went through, and we cooperate with Ukrainian Midwife Union, This is the Midwife Union, is an organization, an NGO that operates throughout Ukraine and that support more than 50,000 women every year. So there is investigation that was conducted in between 24 regions. And in this investigation, there is data that shows that almost 50% of women stated that they suffered from maternal losses and damages related to the war, loss of property or loss of income. That really shows the burden for every family who is living in Ukraine. And according to the data that we have already for a while in our organization that we conducted in previous years, sometimes when people are moving from one place to another that also don't know their rights, they don't know what rights they can have as a family due to the healthcare system. So, and this is delaying the service recipient. So they cannot get their medical treatment as soon as they are displaced in a different location or city. Also, at the moment, as you know, we have a lot of problems with disruption of water, electricity supply, and heat. This affects every family in Ukraine, especially those who have premature babies and need to have special treatments for them. After the discharge, all the families also have a problem of having access to the hospitals. For example, during the air siren, they cannot go from one side of the city to another. Or, for example, the breastfeeding. Mothers already have a huge feeling of guilt when they have a premature baby. So breastfeeding during the air attacks is even affecting them more because they are unable to breastfeed when they need to do it, for example, or they need to go to the shelter, or the electricity is not letting them do this on time. So this affects even more on guilt feeling and makes more traumatization for the mothers. Follow-up services that I mentioned before are generally needed for 100,000 families in Ukraine among the children aged before 5 years old. According to the information from the National Healthcare Service of Ukraine, only 10% of children who require follow-up consultations under the packages receive these services, and only 25% of at-risk infants in the first year of life have access to the services. This shows a huge need of pulling the services and informing and supporting parents in receiving them on time. So that's why our organization has a huge motivation to support parents in these hard times. And we are doing this by providing 100 to 150 information and psychological support consultations monthly. We do referrals to psychotherapy or professional partnering organizations, and we provide different webinars for parents and those who work with them. So we also do trainings for medical teams on burnout prevention, on follow-up. And one of the projects that we are really proud of working with Professor Marina Mamenko and our partners from Switzerland, and for many years, is the package of Fit for Winter to support babies that are born preterm with warm clothes, with hygiene items, with printed materials that are really helping them survive during the hard times. So by the end, I would like to say that our organization is really dedicated and working together with professionals so that every child, no matter where or when they are born, deserves the best possible outcome and start of life. And for that, we urge also all our partners to work together to continue supporting babies and their parents with providing efficient routing, development of telemedicine, psychological support, and humanitarian assistance. This is all not possible without your assistance and help, and that's why we are really grateful for you standing with us every day and working together. We really appreciate your assistance, and by the end, I would like to only say Slava Ukraini, and thank you so much for being with us here.
Thank you so very much, Oleksandra, for sharing with us this powerful reminder of both the enormous challenges that families face, and also of how important it is for families and professionals to work together even in the most difficult contexts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we'll continue. By the way, don't forget to write down your questions and comments in the Q&A box, please, so we can come back to them at the end. We'll continue with our next speaker, who is Dr. Marina Melkumova. She's a pediatrician and adolescent health program coordinator at the Adolescent Medical Center Institute of Child and Adolescent Health in Armenia. She also serves as a doctor and volunteer with the VIVA, Doctors and Volunteers for Armenia Foundation, where she provides emergency care to children forcibly displaced by conflict. Thank you, Marina, for joining us. We invite you to share your experience, please.
Thank you, Dr. Kolecko, dear colleagues. It's a great honor for me to participate in this seminar, and I will share now my screen and hope you will see it. Is it okay? Do you see?
You see it? Can you put it on full screen, perhaps even?
Yes, it's on full screen.
Okay, then go ahead.
On full screen. So if you see it, okay, I will start about our experience on emergency care for forcibly displaced children in Armenia. So just a small reminder, where is Armenia? We are surrounded by countries like Turkey, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Iran. And there is Nagorno-Karabakh. In Soviet era, it was Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Oblast, and Armenian name is Artsakh. And it was joined by Soviet Union in 1920, so more than 100 years ago to Azerbaijan. So all conflicts and problems started from that time. So just small reminder about milestones of conflict, that it was really long-term conflict with eruption in 90s after collapse of Soviet Union, with some ceasefire since 1994 till 2020. But between that, it was also different military actions, especially in 2017, which we called 4-day war, and our military actions. And new phase of war was in September 2020, with thousands of casualties from both sides and thousands of deaths, and children were also among these deaths. Rocket attack was on maternity home in Stepanakert and some hospitals in regions. But then it was just some ceasefire and deployment of Russian peacekeepers since November 2020. But in December 2022, blockage of the only route to Nagorno-Karabakh with disruption of regular supplies of power, gas, food, medicine, and medical supplies, resulting in civilian humanitarian crisis, regardless of having so-called peacekeepers there. It was really a terrible crisis, because the absence of life-saving medications, inadequate nutrition, and high stress level led to increase in deaths from various chronic illnesses. And deaths from starvation also were registered among older population as well. And only International Committee of the Red Cross, and for some cases Russian peacekeepers for money, were able to transfer limited amounts of supplies and some critically ill patients to Armenia. And of course, children, pregnant women, elderly, and patients with chronic conditions were in very, very bad situation. And new offensive on September 2023 to the population of Artsakh, to civilian settlements, led to numerous deaths, including children, and also terrible flash explosion of fuel depot led to the thing that population was forced to leave their historical homeland. They couldn't stay there because it was unsafe. And also deaths among children, 6 deaths, and terrible death of 2 brothers with cut head, bring to this decision. So you can see how they left the country and went to the near city Goris, which was the border. Massive influx. Here is the picture of this situation. Massive influx of more than 120,000 people, including more than 30,000 children. And just to imagine that this 120,000 of people is about 4% of Armenian population. So during this 1 week, Armenia tried to accept them, to provide with shelters, with food. And so it was day and night influx of people by cars, by trucks, by buses, and start of emergency actions, both from government and non-governmental actors. And point of care, food provision, clothes provision started from just the very beginning, from the first hours. What we see in Goris, in this city and in point of care, severe fear, stress, shock, because they left their homes, houses, and within just 1-2 minutes. They leave their photos, they leave their graves of their parents, grandparents, and they definitely know that they will not come back anytime. So it's very, very severe stress. Malnourished children and parents, and even for some cases, for parents were much more malnourished than children, because they provide the last food to their sons and daughters. It was exacerbation of children with chronic conditions, asthma, diabetes 1, epilepsy, juvenile arthritis, familial Mediterranean fever. We were in also the compensating situation. Children with special needs who were under stress and fear, and a lot of cases of pneumonia, and a lot of cases of children with acute respiratory infection, because within these 2 days of rocket attack, they were in some strange and difficult situation, without having water, without having no foods, and also this more than 30 hours of road, which usually they could cross within 5 hours, also bring to this acute situation. And even during that time, we saw some speech disorders. Some of them couldn't speak, and speech therapists worked with them. And for others in future, we saw retardation in psychosocial development. Also, I could say that when we provide them with the medical supply, with medicines, but the terrible thing what this, we have a lot of diapers of size 1, 2, but couldn't distribute them because women had early miscarriages during this 9 months of blockages due to shortage of food. And then after, it was twice decreased cases of pregnancy and birth among women. So what was done after, as just from the starting point, all displaced persons had the same healthcare services and rights as other citizens of Armenia by special decree of the government. But people were disoriented and they didn't understand what to do. So additional support by non-governmental actors and also by government was provided to all families who were placed in different regions of Armenia. Explain them, to provide with some medicines, give consultation and counseling, physical checkup for the more than 6-7 months was provided to these people. So what can I say from these terrible lessons? Any government, any country now should be prepared to emergency situation. And both governmental and non-governmental actors. Population should be prepared for first aid, and it's very important to start it from the school years, for school children, for students. Continuous psychosocial support should be provided. Raise a voice about the situation for all instances, and no one knows what can happen if his country tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And just don't forget that blood of all children in the world has the same color. It doesn't matter which race, which religious, which nation this child is, this in social media or not. They have the same right to live in safety. And it's about VIVA Foundation information you can find on website. And the foundation was established in 2016 during another regular military aggression of Azerbaijan against the Republic of Artsakh. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Marina, for this very moving presentation that illuminates the medical and emotional realities faced by displaced children and their families. Thank you so much. So we'll continue with our next speaker, who is Professor Ketil Størdal. He's a pediatrician at Oslo University Hospital and professor of pediatrics at the University of Oslo. He has a long-standing emergency response experience as a delegate of the Norwegian Red Cross, and he has extensive global health experience. He recently joined Red Cross teams supporting child health care in Gaza. Today, Ketil is prevented from joining us live, but he kindly recorded his presentation, which you can hear and see now instead of his conflicting obligations. So let's start his presentation.
Perhaps we can move on with Marwa for a moment, and I just
Okay.
try to troubleshoot the sound.
Thank you, Lorraine. Yes, let's do that. So we'll go on with Mrs. Marwa Hamad and come back to Ketil's presentation thereafter. Marwa is a fundraiser and program director with Women of the Sun, a Palestinian organization dedicated to empowering women and youth through community development, dialogue, and peace building. She works closely with mothers who transform grief into activism and advocate for the safety and future of children across divides. Marwa, thank you for joining us. Please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you very much, everyone. I will just share my presentation. And hopefully, okay, just a minute. It's full screen now.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Today, I will speak from my heart as a woman, as a mother, and as someone who believes deeply in the power of women and communities to build peace, even in the darkest moments that we are living. This presentation is dedicated to the mothers who transform grief into activism and to the children who deserve safety, education, and hope, especially the children of Gaza. Across conflicts around the world, mothers carry a unique burden. We wake each day with the same prayer that our children will be safe. Mothers for Peace is built on the stories of those women who refuse to let grief become hatred. So we choose the dialogue over division, healing over revenge, and humanity over fear. Our experience teaches us that pain is shared, and so must be the responsibility to protect every child. Even in the crisis, we believe that mothers lead the community. Efforts we are advocating for consistency and build bridges with others only see walls. This has reminded us that peace begins with compassion and that the courage of one mother can inspire the entire community. Today, women of Gaza and their children are living through one of the most difficult humanitarian realities in the world. Women are holding their families together under constant threat, creating stability for their children and serving as the emotional backbone of the communities. Children face trauma, displacement, and daily fear. Yet, the resilience continues to inspire us. Our message is too simple and universal. Every child has the right to be safety. Every woman deserves dignity. Every family deserves hope. This belief guides us for our work as women of the sun. For us, despite the challenges, we continue to implement life-changing programs across Gaza. We have our Women of the Sun network in Gaza. We now have more than 700 women organized in Gaza, supported by 10 coordinators and volunteers who work tirelessly on the ground. We operate 16 classrooms used as safe learning spaces for children and as protective spaces for women. Through our Essence of Learning program for children in crisis, we educated more than 2,000 children in the education program, and also they receive psychological support and emotional care. Our teachers, which are the mothers of those children and have been finished their education but didn't have the chance to practice their job, so we have it in our centers. They educate their children. Our Women's Center for the families in Gaza, where we so far distributed more 1,000 humanitarian packages, ensuring food, hygiene items, and essential supplies for women. Also, we have partnership with different organizations in the orphanage village, where we have safe shelters, education, psychological care, and also women was the caregivers trained to nurture those children who have lost everything. This partnership reflects our deepest commitment so no child grow up alone. Under our peace building, under our base, which is the UN Resolution 1325, where women act as agents of change. Our peace building work is not separate from the humanitarian mission. It is a part of it. Our peace building workshops fall under the UN Security Resolution 1325 programs, where we focus on peace building and healing within our own community as absolute necessity in the current reality. Through this program, we strengthen the women leadership, help communities process trauma, and emphasize the role of women as essential peace builders. And from our belief that every child and adolescent, there is a right of safety, we have different lessons from Frontline, Paediatric, and community members from Gaza. We should have safe spaces where children need pediatric protected spaces, schools, women's centers, and community shelters. Psychological support. Early care helps children heal, regain trust, and learn again. And also we need community collaboration. Teachers, mothers, health workers, and local leaders must work hand in hand. Empowering mothers and caregivers. Mothers are the first responders in any crisis. Their strength shapes the child resilience, and also the youth empowerment, where adolescents need guidance, mentorship, and opportunities, turning them into leaders rather than victims of the conflict. For us, we stand here today with humility and hope. Hope in the strength of women, hope in the resilience of children, hope in the power of communities to heal. Mothers remind us that love is stronger than fear. Children remind us why peace is necessity. This is the heart of our movement and the heart of the Mother's Call, where mothers from different backgrounds come together to demand safety, dignity, and peace for children. This is a picture from our gathering for the partnership in the Mother Corps, where we are mothers, Palestinian and Israeli, want the leaders to sit on the negotiation table for the future of our children. And for us, we will have to invite you, everyone, to the 24th initiative, which is the barefoot walk, because the land is still soaked with the blood of our children. We will walk barefoot in Italy on March 25th. We will walk with the pain we carry, with the love we refuse to give up, and with the courage that only mothers and communities know. This will not just be a walk, it's a call for healing. It's a call for dignity, a call for the world to witness our grief and our hope. So join us, walk with us, stand with us, we heal our communities and lift our voices as women, as children, for every child, for every mother, and every life we lost and threatened. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marva. I cannot put in words how impressed I am and how much respect I have for what you and your network are doing, facing the extremely dire conditions in Gaza, as well for your deeply human and courageous perspective. Thank you so much, and all the best of luck for the future developments. Lorraine, do you think we can have the presentation of Ketil now? Do you think it will work?
We will retry. Please just let me know if the sound is working, because that's where we are experiencing a difficulty. So it's coming shortly. All right, and let me know about the sound, please.
Not yet.
We try one more time.
Yes,
Just
please.
give me a second.
Thanks for inviting.
There was the sound. Seemed to work now.
Did you hear it now?
Yeah.
All
I
right,
heard
so let me just
Ketil
share
say
it
thanks for
quickly.
inviting me.
Excellent. So now you should be able to hear and see. Thank you for your patience.
My name is Ketil Størdal, and I will share my experiences from working in a Red Cross field hospital in Gaza in November, December last year. The field hospital is located in the very south of Gaza, just north of the border to Egypt. Next to the field hospital, you see the green line marking the Al-Mawazi area, the so-called humanitarian zone, where hundreds of thousands have relocated and now living in tents with very limited access to power, clean water, and sanitation. The hospital is a standard tented facility from the Norwegian Red Cross, run by the International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC. The operating theater and the delivery unit is the closest to us, and the boards and the ER unit are at the far end. Due to security, we were never allowed to other places than the hospital and the living quarter from which this picture is taken. As another point of security, you should note that the Red Cross emblem is displayed on the roofs of the tented structures, and the Red Cross flags are riding at the facilities. International clinical staff lived in the Yellow House, a former holiday residence which was crowded and close to 30 people were living there. Importantly, the first floor is the safe zone. With enforced protection, the upper two floors are less protected. This is the view and the sunset from top of the Yellow House. The standard hospital structure is seen to the right, surprisingly well functioning and equipped. ICRC staff and a group of international delegates are seconded to work for periods of 6 weeks. But the majority of the staff in the hospital are local Palestinians, including doctors, nurses, midwives, pharmacists, cleaners, and of course, the security staff. When opening in May 2024, the bed capacity was 60, but was doubled in the spring of 2025 due to extreme demands. It's my last night in Gaza. I'm a privileged man going home to my family in Norway for Christmas. This last day has been hectic with a mass casualty incident and MCI in the evening after a bomb strike not far from the hospital. We try to get sleep around midnight, but drones are busy over the area. Suddenly, an explosion breaks through the night, and within a minute, the ambulances start sounding. The radio soon calls us, MCI, all staff to the hospital. Keeping overview in the chaos is really difficult, and children are at risk of not being attended to. Mohammed, 2 years, is brought in. He has multiple shrapnel wounds on his limbs and lower abdomen. Normal blood pressure, I am told, but he is clearly tachycardic and pale, crying for his mother. She is identified in the chaos and comes to comfort him, herself terrified. We do a fast scan and confirm an ongoing abdominal collection of fluids, a likely bleeding. We manage to transfuse him, and in an urgent laparotomy, 500 ml of blood due to several intestinal preparations is evacuated. Bleeding is controlled and is brought to the ICU at Nasser Hospital some kilometers away for further care. Mohammed survives, not becoming one of the more than 20,000 children who have died in Gaza due to the injuries of war. The numbers make me and others numb. 20,000 children translates to a school class every day, more than one child dying every single hour for the last 2 years due to the war. They are not numbers. They have names, they have families, and should have had a future. This WHO situation report also tells that less than 40% of all hospitals and primary healthcare units were partly functional in October this year. 10 field hospitals, including the Red Cross Hospital, are serving some of the most imminent needs. Some days in the hospital were quiet, with sounds of war only in the far distance, but not interfering with the hospital work. Other times, as seen here, the gunshots and explosions were too close. For security reasons, we had to stay on shelter for hours some of these days. To protect staff and patients from stray bullets perforating the tents, some walls were built around the tents during my stay in Gaza. Both a patient and a staff member have been hit by stray bullets, but fortunately without any fatal consequences. Sand is perhaps the only resource that is not missing in Gaza, and sandbag walls are here put up around the operating theater. To interrupt an operation due to security is not an attractive option. This way was a smart way to ensure safety for patients in surgery and for the staff doing the procedures. The Red Cross has 7 fundamental principles displayed here. In conflict settings, these principles are particularly important. Impartiality and neutrality, offering the same care to all, is a crucial principle. This is also highly important to be allowed to operate in the area by the parts in a conflict. But of course, also Red Cross has been attacked and criticized by extreme parts during their operation in Gaza. The local Red Crescent of Palestine served the ambulances in Rafah area. The ambulance drivers are heroes putting their own lives at risk by moving close to hotspots. One of our ambulance drivers was killed in a crossfire when I was there. This picture is from the ambulance entrance and the gate where patients entered the hospital. The area just inside was used for triage in mass casualty incidents, and the emergency rooms are to the right. This could become quite chaotic and crowded when 30 injured were brought in at the same time. The emergency room is quite well equipped and with 4 beds, as seen on the left side. We had monitors, we had infusion pumps, drains for evacuating pneumothoraces, a portable ultrasound for fast scan, and well-trained staff, most important. The operating theatre and staff there could do life-saving surgery and also smaller procedures if time allowed. Working in a Red Cross hospital gives you an opportunity to get to work with diverse cultures. The local staff work closely with the international staff, and when time allowed, teaching and training were part of the daily duties. This is one of the 2 local obstetricians, Mona, training with 2 of the midwives, Fatima and Dina. Really skilled and enjoyable people that I still keep in touch with, and doing an important job by assisting pregnant and delivering mothers. We had up to 6 deliveries in a single day, including C-sections, as seen on this picture. These are Hassan and Saleh, twin boys delivered slightly preterm by cesarean section. They could go home with their mother after a couple of days in the field hospital. One of the 2 local obstetricians, Musa, is not among us anymore. He and his 3 kids lost their lives when a bomb hit their tent in Khan Yunis in June. He is one of almost 1,000 healthcare workers killed during the conflict, many of them while doing the jobs. You should never accept this practice. Healthcare workers are not part of the fight. Children in the hospital have all kinds of common conditions. Gastroenteritis and airway infections, of course, were the most common reasons for admission or outpatient care. But injuries of war were also frequent, even in children. Here a girl get a wound dressing by one of the local nurses. Children with chronic conditions are extremely vulnerable, and we had some cases similar to this. We can call her Zelda. This is just an example picture. She had cerebral palsy and cleft palate, which was still not corrected at age 4 years. Naturally, feeding was difficult, and she was admitted due to pneumonia, likely caused by aspiration. But we did not have proper options to help her most life-threatening condition, which was malnutrition. The pharmacy tried repeatedly to get hold of fluid feeds, but it was impossible. Her weight on admission was 5 kilograms. Tuna fish and protein biscuits, which we could offer, did not fit for her condition. I'm quite sure that Zelda did not survive long after being discharged. This recent paper from Lancet shows how malnutrition has affected the children in Gaza at a large scale, from around 5% being wasted, according to the MUAC set score of less than -2 in January 24. This tripled to 14% a year later. After the ceasefire in February, rates dropped, but then increased again to 16% in August 2025. Despite high-profile airdropped food and militarized aid, this happened. It clearly did not reach the most vulnerable population, the children. I hope that children will not suffer again like the past years in Gaza. They deserve a better future. Paediatricians, we should always speak up for the most vulnerable anywhere. Thanks for your attention.
I thank Ketil for this very impressive presentation on his experience and the enormous tragedy that has developed there. I think we are all very much moved by that. Now let's move to our final speaker before we come to the closing reflection from UNICEF. Our final speaker is Professor Gilad Livni. She's an infectious disease specialist and director of the Department of Pediatrics A at the Schneider Children's Medical Center in Israel. She's also a volunteer doctor with the Hostages and Missing Families Forum. She led the pediatric medical reception of children released from captivity in November 2023. Thank you, Professor Livni, for joining us. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Just a minute. Okay, you can see the full screen.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here. And beside being a doctor, I'm also a mother of 3 children and a grandmother of another 3 children. And I would like to start to share with you a short story that I heard from a cousin of one of my doctors. She is an aunt of twins, 10-month-old. Her family and her sister family lived in a small community near the Gaza border. On the morning of October 7th, her sister family, her sister, her husband, and 2 twins, 10-month-old, woke up at 6:30 to the sound of sirens, something that had become part of daily life for nearly 20 years. They took the babies into the safe room, accepting a brief alert. But the minutes passed, the babies cried for hunger, and the mother stepped out for just a moment to prepare bottles. She never returned. A sniper outside the house shot her the moment she entered the hallway. The father stayed in the shelter with the twins, moving them away from the door. Minutes later, terrorists shot through the door and killed him. The 10-month-old babies remain alive, alone, hungry, terrified. A neighbor tried to approach the house to help the crying babies. He was shot. Another neighbor tried. Then another. Each person who came close was targeted by the terrorists outside. For 13 hours, the twin cried, hungry, frightened, and unaware of what had happened to their parents, until Israeli soldiers were finally able to rescue them. Since that day, their aunt, the one that I heard the story from her, has been raising not only her own 3 children, but also her sister orphan. The story is not about politics. It is about children whose life changed within minutes, children who carry deep trauma. And with this human perspective, I would like to move into the medical and psychological aspect of caring for the returning child hostages. Our journey, sorry, it doesn't work. Somehow. Okay, sorry. So our journey begins on October 7th with a horrifying attack launched by terrorists on Israeli town and kibbutz, in which over 1,250 people were murdered, mostly civilians. About 24 hours later, the understanding that about 250 people were kidnapped and taken hostages, including men, women, children, infants, and elderly, became clear. The fair hostages releasing deal took place 50 days later on November 23. 112 hostages were released in this deal, about 50 of them Israeli women and children. It took more than a year for the second hostage release deal, which took place in January 2025, and the third one occurred recently in October. During the period between these deals, 42 hostages were murdered in Gaza. 3 abductees who were killed in captivity have still not been returned. So, as the largest pediatric center in Israel, we quickly understood that if children were taken hostages, we have to be prepared for receiving them back and taking care of them in the best way possible. We created a multidisciplinary team, including medical personnel, dietitian, and psychosocial teams, and special consideration was given for each and every aspect of treatment. So, as a well-trained doctor, we began with a comprehensive literature review. We could not find any data on the immediate phase, let alone in the pediatric population. And so we started writing our own protocol for investigation and treatment. All the patients through medical evaluation, which included a formulated medical admission questionnaire, basic physical examination, blood test, stool test, and urine test. Also, all patients had psychological evaluation and social team assessment in order to define the personal and environmental condition. For each family, an assessment was made of the need and the existing support circle before discharge, and contact was made with the relevant teams in the community for ensuring continuity in each case. But no preparation could have us ready for the moment of the reunion of these children and mother with their family, and I think one picture is worth 1,000 words. This is a 9-year-old abducted with his mother, running to his father's arm after 50 days in hell. He returned with his mother and grandmother, who was 78 years old, while his grandfather was still held in Gaza and later on was killed in captivity. His uncle was murdered in October the 7th. Over the course of 8 days, we admitted 26 returnees, 19 children, 6 mothers and 1 grandmother. We have 6 nuclear families and 7 children who held alone in Gaza. Before admission, 60% had background diagnosis. Part of them got chronic medication, but none of the patients had chronic medication taken with them when they were taken to the Gaza Strip on October the 7th. Chronic medication were not supplied on a regular basis during captivity. The median duration on admission was 4 days. The fact that 18 from 26 individuals, 70%, did not have a home to return to, as some of the houses were burned during the attack, while others were located in declared war zone, leading to displacement of the residents, was another challenge that we had to face. Weight loss was the most common findings, and was far more prevalent in the adult women and adolescent. This observation is attributed to the fact that the adults and the adolescent in each group of hostages deprived food from themselves and kept it in order to feed the younger children. Diet was rice and white bread based, with low quality ingredient and minimal or no intake of vegetable, protein, and fat. The mental challenge faced by people that go through abducted in captivity has been documented in several reports in the literature. It is clearly the most concerning and challenging struggle ahead. It is evident that the primary objective and the most critical challenge are not assessed and treated in the initial phase of returning home. We were well aware that our part in their journey is limited. Our primary goal as a first point of care staff was to serve as a bridge back to life and give them some of the faith and sense of control of their lives again. Some children whispered instead of speaking, some saved food or ate quickly. One of the girls who was captured with his sister drew a picture when she was in the hospital. And when asked who she would give it, she replied, to my older sister, because in captivity, she refused to eat until she was sure I was full. And this is Gali. She is 13 years kidnapped alone from her home, kidnapped and held alone most of the time, and was told she will never be back, and there is no more Israel, and nobody is looking for her. This picture was taken 2 weeks after her return. She came back to say thank you, and the most important things she said was thank you for giving me my face and hope back. but Gali's brother was died on October 7th, apparently suffocated by smoking while staying with her at the safe room. Gali's house was destroyed. The kibbutz where she lived was destroyed, and the community, the kibbutz member, was scattered through the community. And now we are 2 years later, and we really hope that the war is ended. But we know that most of the children didn't back to their abilities and the activity they had before. They afraid from noise, for noise. Part of them don't go to school regularly, and they have a lot of problem. But I want to end on an optimistic note and play you a WhatsApp message I received a few days after a discharge from this sweet girl, and just listen. So she sent me this picture, and I asked her if it hurt. So listen to her answer. And this was the second picture. So you can see a shrapnel and immediately after the piercing. So I'm full of hope that this strength and the flexibility of these children will help them return to normal life despite the nightmare that they went through in Gaza. And this is our hospital. You can see this is the unit that they met when they came back from Gaza. Everyone has his own room, and you can see here Thank you very much. And I hope we can be afterwards and have peace.
Thank you, Gilad, for your powerful testimony and for the compassion that you obviously have for the children you care for. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we'll come to the closing reflection, and I invite Dr. Eduardo Celades Blanco to offer concluding remarks from the perspective of UNICEF.
Thank you. You can hear me?
Very well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Berthold. And I would like to start as well, giving many thanks. And it was incredible to hear all these testimonies and first-hand experiences of you guys working with children in Ukraine, Armenia, Gaza, Israel. So Marina, Oleksandra, all of you, it has been impressive really to hear all these stories, like it's firsthand. So I would like to start with appreciation and recognition of your commitment. What I will do now, just as closing remarks, is just very briefly to explain what UNICEF does. And I really hope that in your countries, Ukraine, Armenia, Palestine, Israel, you are really working with UNICEF to be able to support children. So I will explain a little bit what children does, but as well some personal reflections of a career of 20 years working with children in a humanitarian context at the end. So just to let you know, so first I will do this differentiation between what is for us, what is health in emergencies, and what is public health emergencies. So when we talk about health in emergencies, it's basically what we have been seeing today, right? It means working in a humanitarian context, basically to ensure continuity of services, right? And when we talk about continuity of services, we mean primary health care, immunization and vaccination, maternal and child health care, nutrition services. So this is the life-saving interventions. This is our core piece of work. But this is not only health, but as well we as UNICEF, we work as well in water, sanitation, education, what we call it multi-sectorial approaches, right? So this is what we basically do health in emergencies. And this is in humanitarian context. And you know, and actually today here we had some of the most important humanitarian crises in the world, like Ukraine, Armenia, Gaza, etc. So you know that. It's important because when we look to the number of countries with the highest under 5 mortality, the highest child mortality, almost 75% of them are countries that they are facing humanitarian crisis, war, conflict, natural disaster, etc. So this is the core of our job. And how we frame that job is what we call the core commitments for children. This is the commitments like in the UN we gave to the to UNICEF as the specialized UN agency working with children. But this is what we do in health in emergencies: leadership and coordination, normally with WHO, maternal and neonatal health, immunization, child and adolescent health, strengthening health systems, normally at primary health care level, and community engagement, including social behavior change. This is what we call the core commitments for children, and this is the mandate of the UN to work with children, and normally UNICEF facilitates that. However, there is something as well that we didn't talk today, but I want to put this in the table. It's public health emergencies, and in this case, we are talking more about outbreaks, for example, about pandemics, about disease, about epidemics, etc. Interestingly, most of the times, or quite often, they can happen at the same time. We saw that in the Ebola, in DRC and in West Africa, and in any humanitarian setting, normally we see measles outbreaks and others. So normally they are very much related, but as well they are somehow different. In this case as well, so for you guys to know, we work in outbreak control measures. So this is what includes a public health emergency. I have here the list, but the ones in bold font are the ones that UNICEF focuses more. Outbreak control measures like vaccination campaigns, infection and prevention control or case management, but as well risk communication, right? Social behavior change, how to work with the people in the communities on how to prevent the diseases, joint actions, mental health, and as well the activation of emergency operation centers. If you look, for example, to this example in Ebola, this is what we did, right? We started working in infection and prevention control. This was in DRC, in the 2020 outbreak, the mental health and psychosocial support, community engagement, and all the social behavior change, and then the humanitarian response. And as I said, there are blurry lines between these two concepts, right, of public health emergencies and health in emergencies. So maybe just to end, I mean, we had a lot of examples today, and people that experiences that in their own countries and facing that in the day-to-day. I will just explain the last humanitarian response I have been involved. This has been the Hurricane Melissa that affected Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. And this was only like about 3 weeks ago, like about 17 days ago. So this was a hurricane of almost 300 kilometers per hour that affected 4 countries and basically brought a lot of distraction to 2 countries, like basically Jamaica and as well Cuba. Here is like some of the pictures, and almost 1 million children have been affected. This happened on Tuesday, 2 weeks ago, right? It was almost 4 million people in need and 1 million children affected. And the damages, and this is only for Jamaica because it was the country more affected, is more than 140 facilities affected, but as well the secondary and tertiary hospitals were destroyed. All the roofs were gone, etc. The first week, almost anyone in the affected areas, they had access to electricity, they had even no internet access, and they didn't have access to water. Right, and we are talking, this happened on the 28th, the landfall was on the 28th of October. So as I said, about 18, 19 days ago. And as well, 2 weeks after the hurricane land in Jamaica, we are seeing already like increase on watery acute diarrheas, as well dengue, etc. And houses are damaged, people are living in shelters, the schools are closed, etc. So this has been a very acute emergency. So what the UNICEF does, so what is our role? And today we went through a lot of examples. So for example, we don't work too much at hospital level. You know, this is needed, and some of you have been sharing your experiences, but we as UNICEF, we focus on the primary healthcare response. For example, setting up mobile brigades, right? So with doctors and nurses and midwives going outside to the communities and to the damaged areas to try to work and to try to ensure access and continuity of services. This does not mean that UNICEF cannot support hospitals. We do as well. For example, newborn units. For example, access to water to hospitals, infection prevention control. We do work in hospitals as well, but our priority normally is to ensure access to services through primary health care. So we're quite proud on our response over the next few days after the hurricane. We're able to send more than 100 tons of medical equipment and drugs to Jamaica in only like 5 days after, or even less, after the hurricane. And similar to Cuba, we deployed specialists. We started mobile brigades. We did assessments of nutrition, trainings, interventions. We deployed water. And as well, we're very active in social media, listening to people, what is happening. So we're able to respond quickly to the needs that people express, for example, using social media. And we're starting a coaching assessment next week. So we're already starting thinking on the recovery phase. And that's the good thing of UNICEF, that we do not only stop during the acute phase, but we try to go beyond. So this is something I have been working on over the last 2-3 weeks. And so I just wanted to share that with you. So I was asked by Berthold and Lorraine to give some personal reflections. I have been working as a humanitarian aid worker and development aid worker more than 20 years, right? The personal toll is big, right? So basically you move from country to country to emergency to emergency. I have in the last 20 years been in almost all major emergencies, especially until the last 5 years when I am doing a little bit less on that. So the personal toll for families, for you know, for having a family, having children, having a partner, having seen your parents growing, that's very a heavy toll. And I'm talking now, you know, for maybe not for the people that have been sharing first-hand experiences, but the one that they are thinking if they're going to devote their lives to this kind of work, right? So this is the personal toll is big. The commitment is significant. We heard today the commitment from many people that are living firsthand the work that they are doing, but as well work, as you know, working at war zone or in a epidemic like Ebola, etc. It's been at risk. It's a personal risk. Normally, you get short-term deployments that you don't know how long they are going to last. They can be extended. And on top of that, there is job insecurity. You are just, you know, you go from one crisis to the other. It's not clear what happens in the middle. I would say, and I'm talking for the more than 90 people that they are listening to us today, if they are thinking on this, to devote their careers as pediatrician, or in my case, I am a family doctor, a family physician, to devote to this, adaptability is the key, right? You need to change your mindset. You need to be very adaptable. You will be working in health centers with very little resources, in hospitals that are destroyed, in an environment that is very culturally diverse or different to yours. So you need to be very adaptive. Their commitment it should be very strong. Then my last 2 reflections. One is that the humanitarian work that we are doing is at risk. It's not only because there's a financial crisis, but as well because there's a mandate crisis. Now our job is under dispute. It has been politicized, and it's not clear that we used to have, I have been working on this for more than 20 years, a full support for the media, for the countries. There's a commitment that humanitarian work is something that is neutral, that it's good for humanity. It's not clear to me if we are in the same world that is thinking that we need to prioritize our help and support to children. I think this is a challenge, but I think we need to speak up. So we are facing our humanitarian work is at risk, but we hope we really can defend it. And my last comment to be positive, I would say that is working as a humanitarian aid worker is very rewarding as well. And I am sure that the people that have the panelists that have shared with us agree with that, but anyone that commits to this type of line of work, I mean, the purpose that is attached to this and seeing the direct results of what we are doing is really very rewarding and reminds us why we are medical doctors, why we are here, and how we can support children across the world. So I would like to finalize this just to, again, to recognize, appreciate, to applaud, and to thank to all the panelists for all the great work that you are doing for children, in all of you in very different settings. So please continue doing what you are doing. You are an example for all of us. And I encourage everyone that is listening to us to reflect on this and to really try to think as well how we can contribute from our jobs. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eduardo, for these very thoughtful comments. I think we are all very, very grateful to UNICEF and all the people that contribute to your work for what you're doing. It makes such a big difference for children in all kinds of disasters, and I can only hope that you get more support from governments around the world and other sources to keep doing what you're doing. It's so important. Now, we are running slightly late, but I would still like to invite you to take part in a short interactive poll because we want to hear from you, your voices, participants. There is a QR on the screen for Slido, and you would like to go there and share your reflections on what do children and adolescents need most to recover from crisis. So take your phones, scan the QR code and put in your comments, 1 or 2 words or short phrases that come to mind. And while your responses will come in, we will see a word cloud forming like a visual reflection of our collective thinking. So, see the first word coming up. That's great. Thank you so much for your responses. I really love the top hits here, peace, love, and family, which really reflects, I think, our joint view here, what is needed. Thank you so much for this. Now, we hope to get some questions, but we have very few questions. Some have already been answered in the written form, in the Q&A forum. I guess, many of us are speechless with all the tragedies we've heard, or with all the terrible things that we've heard, and we are probably in a state of shock still, and don't write down many questions, but we have a couple of comments that perhaps are good concluding remark. Elvira wrote, "I never imagined while studying to be a pediatrician that 30 years later I'd be listening to a webinar about wars raging around the world, killing and maiming children. Somewhere humanity took a wrong turn." And Gulsan wrote, "May children not see war and live happily and in harmony." I think we all agree, and I think this is the best closing statement we could come up with. Now, I wish to remind you before we close of some of the upcoming exciting events of the European Academy of Pediatrics. Maybe, Lorraine, you can share the slide. We have a wonderful, oh yes, this is an important one. If you scan this, this code, it will bring you to a policy statement, a position paper of the European Academy of Pediatrics on protecting every child, a global call for action amid humanitarian crisis, which is very much in line with the discussion that we had today. So scan the code or just go to the website of the European Academy of Pediatrics and you find it. If you go to the next slide, I want to remind you of the upcoming exciting events that we have. On April 30 to May 3, we will hold a master course in the amazing city of Tbilisi, Georgia, which has an exciting program providing an update on knowledge and skills needed for daily pediatric practice. Again, you find the QR code there to find more information. It's going to be a very nice and exciting program in a wonderful place. And below you see the announcement of the great Congress of the European Pediatric Academic Societies, CPAS, which is hosted jointly by the European Academy of Pediatrics and the European Society for Pediatric Research, which is held in fall from October 21 to 31 at Lyon, France. So if you missed the QR codes here, don't worry. We have all the information on our website as well. As we arrive at the end of the webinar, slightly late, for which I apologize, I thank all of our speakers for the expertise and, more importantly, the commitment to children and child rights and child health. I also wish to thank UNICEF and all the partner organizations for standing with us today. And I thank all of those who participated, who joined from around the world for your interest. On this World Children's Day, let us carry forward what we've heard. Every child, everywhere, has a right to safety, dignity, and hope. I wish you all a good evening and a very happy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.